You are a genuinely kind person. You are the one who picks up the phone when others are struggling, the one who gives people the benefit of the doubt, and the one who believes that forgiveness is the highest form of character. You walk through life with your heart on your sleeve, assuming that if you treat people with empathy and respect, they will naturally return the favor. But there is a painful reality you've started to notice. The more you give, the more they take. You find yourself in a cycle where your kindness isn't met with gratitude, but with casual cruelty. You're being interrupted, spoken down to, and pushed aside. And you respond by making excuses for them, thinking that being the bigger person will eventually earn you the appreciation you deserve. The problem is that by consistently folding, you are accidentally teaching the world exactly how to treat you. When you tolerate disrespect, you aren't just being nice, you are signaling that your boundaries are flexible and that your self-worth is up for negotiation. People are observant. They quickly learn who they can trample on without consequences and who they need to treat with genuine respect. By choosing to stay silent and forgive behavior that hurts you, you are eroding your own sense of dignity. You might think you are keeping the peace, but you are actually sacrificing your integrity on the altar of someone else's comfort. It is time to accept a hard truth. Your strength is not found in how much emotional weight you can carry for others, nor is it found in how much abuse you can endure. True strength is defined by the line you draw in the sand. It is measured by your ability to look someone in the eye and say, "That behavior is not acceptable." If you continue to allow others to treat you like a doormat, you will wake up one day and realize you have lost the very essence of who you are. Reclaiming your power doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you a person with self-respect. If you are tired of feeling drained, overlooked, and disrespected, it is time to stop being a passive participant in your own mistreatment. Here are 7 specific forms of disrespect that you must stop tolerating today if you want to protect your dignity and step into your true power. 1. Intentional lying. We all make mistakes and we all slip up when the truth is uncomfortable. But there is a massive, life-altering difference between a slip of the tongue and a calculated, intentional lie. When someone lies to you on purpose, they are making a cold, silent statement about how they view you. They are essentially telling you that they do not think you are worthy of the truth. They don't respect your intelligence enough to believe you can handle the reality of the situation. So they construct a false narrative to keep you exactly where they want you. Every time you catch a lie and choose to forgive it without addressing it, you are effectively training that person to keep manipulating you. You are teaching them that their deception has no price and that your trust is cheap enough to be discarded whenever it suits them. You have to realize that truth is a form of courage. It takes guts to be honest when it's inconvenient. Conversely, someone who lies constantly is living in a state of cowardice. They are hiding from the weight of reality, and they are using you as a pawn in their own game of evasion. When you continue to accept these lies, you are participating in a reality where your own perceptions are treated as a joke. You deserve to be in relationships, whether they are professional, personal, or romantic, where honesty is the foundation, not an option. If you stop accepting lies, you stop being a target for manipulation. You regain your power the moment you decide that your reality is too valuable to be compromised by someone else's dishonesty. 2. Public humiliation. Have you ever noticed that friend or colleague who always seems to have a punchline ready, and the punchline is almost always you? They hide their disrespect behind the thin, fragile shield of humor, claiming, "I was just joking," or "You're too sensitive." Do not buy into that. This is a calculated power play. It is a social tactic used to knock you down a peg in front of others so that they can feel like the person in control. By making you the butt of the joke, they are signaling to everyone in the room that your dignity is secondary to their entertainment. It is a way of testing how much public disrespect you are willing to swallow before you finally push back. When you laugh along just to keep the peace or to avoid a scene, you are inadvertently giving them a green light to continue. You are telling them, it is okay to belittle me as long as you act like it's funny. But a truly strong person simply does not participate in their own degradation. You don't need to be aggressive or start a fight to handle this. You just need to stop playing the game. When you stop laughing, when you hold a steady gaze, or when you calmly state, "I don't find that funny," you shatter their power play instantly. You are refusing to let them define your worth for the sake of a cheap, hollow laugh. People will treat you exactly how you allow them to, and when you stop being the punchline, you force everyone else to treat you with the respect you should have demanded from the very beginning. 3. Boundary violations. Think of your boundaries as the invisible fence that protects your peace, your mental health, and your precious time. These are the rules of your life, and you are the only one who can enforce them. When someone repeatedly ignores these rules by showing up uninvited, constantly demanding your energy, or overstepping into your personal decisions, they aren't just being pushy. They are performing a calculated test to see exactly how much of your autonomy they can strip away before you finally object. Every time they ask for something you don't want to give and you say yes out of guilt or fear of conflict, you are signaling that your time has no value. You are essentially telling them that they are allowed to walk through the front door of your life whenever they please. And predictably, they will continue to do it because they know there is no consequence for their intrusion. If you don't push back, this behavior will never stop. In fact, it will only escalate. People who disregard boundaries are like water finding the path of least resistance. If they realize you are a person who never says no, they will drain you dry until you have nothing left for yourself. You have to be the one to set the standards, and you have to be the one to uphold them, even when it feels uncomfortable or mean. It is vital to understand that people will treat you exactly as you train them to. If you are constantly available for everyone else's emergencies, demands, and interruptions, you are teaching them that your life is secondary to theirs. You must realize that your space, your focus, and your energy are finite resources. If you don't take the responsibility of protecting them, no one else is going to do it for you. Most people don't mean to be malicious, but they will naturally consume as much space as you leave open for them. The moment you start saying no or setting firm limits, you might face some pushback, but that is simply the sound of people realizing they can no longer treat you as an extension of themselves. Reclaiming your space is not an act of hostility. It is an act of self-preservation. When you finally plant your feet and declare what is acceptable and what isn't, you aren't being difficult. You are finally acting as the primary guardian of your own life. 4. Exploitative kindness. There is a massive, life-defining difference between being a kind person and being a doormat. True kindness is a strength, a deliberate choice to offer support from a place of abundance and genuine care. But being a doormat is not a virtue. It is a lack of self-protection. When you operate as a doormat, you are essentially signaling to the world that your kindness is a free-for-all resource that anyone can tap into, regardless of how they treat you. Opportunists are incredibly intuitive. They can smell this kind of unconditional availability from a mile away. They view your compassion not as a beautiful human trait, but as a utility, something to be drained, used, and discarded once the value has been extracted. This dynamic is incredibly easy to spot if you are paying attention. These individuals operate on a cycle of convenience. When they have a problem, they are right there at your door, ready to soak up your empathy, your advice, or your resources. They know exactly which emotional buttons to push to make you feel responsible for their well-being. Yet the moment you are the one in need, when you are struggling, hurting, or simply need a friend, they vanish. They become busy, distant, or entirely unreachable. This is not a balanced relationship. It is a parasitic one. Friedrich Nietzsche famously warned against what he called the morality of weakness, a toxic cycle where people exploit the compassion of others to avoid taking responsibility for their own lives. When you consistently allow this to happen, you aren't helping them. You are enabling their parasitic behavior. If someone only values you when you are actively giving them a favor, a ride, money, or emotional labor, you have to be honest with yourself. That is not a friendship. It is an extraction. They are mining your heart for their own benefit and leaving you depleted in the process. You are being used as a source of energy for people who would never dream of offering you the same intensity of support. It is time to stop confusing self-abandonment with kindness. True respect in a relationship is reciprocal. If you find that your kindness is always a one-way street, you need to stop the flow immediately. By withholding your help from those who do not earn it, you save your energy for the people who actually appreciate your value and who would be just as happy to support you during your own times of need. Stop acting as a fuel source for people who don't deserve your light. 5. Being treated as an option. We are living in the middle of a modern epidemic where people treat relationships like a scrolling feed. They engage only when they are bored and disappear the moment something more interesting comes along. You know exactly what this looks like. You are the person they hit up late at night or on a Sunday afternoon because they have nothing better to do. They cancel plans at the last minute with a flimsy excuse, showing zero respect for your time, and then they reappear weeks later, acting as if nothing happened, expecting you to pick up exactly where you left off. They aren't looking for a genuine connection. They are looking for a placeholder to fill the gaps in their schedule. When you allow this to continue, you are essentially accepting the role of the backup plan. You have allowed yourself to become a convenience store, open whenever they need something, but ignored until they do. Here is the cold, hard truth that nobody wants to hear. People only treat you like an option because you have consistently allowed them to. Every time you drop everything to accommodate them after they've ignored you for weeks, you are giving them permission to keep treating you that way. You are silently telling them that your time, your emotional energy, and your presence are not things they need to earn or respect. You might be holding on to the hope that if you are kind enough or patient enough, they will eventually see your value and start treating you like a priority. But it doesn't work like that. If you wait around to be chosen, you will spend your entire life in the waiting room. The only way to shift this dynamic is to stop participating in it entirely. You have to start creating your own value. This means becoming so busy building your own life, chasing your own goals, and investing in people who actually reciprocate your energy that you no longer have the time or the inclination to be anyone's option. A person who truly knows their worth doesn't sit by the phone waiting for a text back. A person of high value understands that their time is a limited, non-renewable resource, and they simply don't spend it on people who treat them as an afterthought. When you stop being available to those who only want you on their terms, two things happen. Either those people will fall away because they can no longer exploit you, or they will finally realize they have to show up with real respect if they want to be part of your world. Stop auditioning for a spot in their life. You aren't a backup, you aren't a placeholder, and you certainly aren't an option. The moment you start acting like you were the prize and start walking away the second someone tries to treat you like anything less, you will notice a massive shift in how the world treats you. 6. Emotional gaslighting. We have all been there. You finally gather the courage to explain how someone's behavior has hurt you, hoping for a bit of understanding or a sincere apology. But instead of listening, the person turns the table and hits you with the classic lines. You're just being too sensitive. You're blowing this way out of proportion. Or, why are you always exaggerating? Let's be perfectly clear. This is not a difference of opinion. This is emotional manipulation, plain and simple. When someone consistently minimizes your feelings, they are using a tactic called gaslighting. The goal isn't to solve a problem or to have a healthy conversation. The goal is to make you doubt your own memory, your own sanity, and your own perception of reality. By making you feel like the crazy one, they effectively silence you, ensuring that they never have to take responsibility for the harm they've caused. It is a deeply destructive cycle because over time, it forces you to start questioning your own instincts. You begin to walk on eggshells, wondering if you are indeed too sensitive, or if you are indeed making a big deal out of nothing. But here is the truth you need to internalize. Your emotions are a valid, logical, and necessary expression of your human experience. They are your internal guidance system, telling you when something in your environment is unsafe or disrespectful. When someone labels your feelings as a nuisance or a problem, they are trying to strip you of your power. They want you to believe that your needs are secondary and that your voice shouldn't be heard. Do not fall for it. You must stop letting other people define the validity of your reality. Just because someone else is unwilling to face the consequences of their actions does not mean your pain is invalid. Never let someone convince you that your boundaries are a burden or that your emotions are a flaw. When you find yourself in a conversation where your feelings are constantly dismissed, the best thing you can do is stop trying to convince the other person that you've been hurt. You don't need their permission to feel what you feel. Once you stop explaining yourself to someone who is committed to misunderstanding you, you reclaim your dignity. You protect your peace by trusting your own intuition over their manipulative narrative. If they cannot respect your experience, they do not deserve access to your life. Never apologize for having feelings, and never allow someone to dictate how you should experience the world. 7. Betrayal of trust. Trust is the foundation upon which every meaningful human connection is built. It is an incredibly fragile structure that takes months or even years of consistent, honest actions to construct. Yet it can be completely leveled in a single, careless second of betrayal. When someone you care about breaks that trust, they are doing much more than just making a mistake. They are sending a clear, undeniable message that they do not value their commitment to you. They are essentially telling you that your feelings, your loyalty, and the bond you shared are worth less to them than whatever short-term gain they achieved by betraying you. It is a moment of profound disrespect, and it cuts deeper than almost any other form of mistreatment because it strikes at the core of the security you thought you had. Many people think that if they are good and forgiving enough, they can fix the broken trust and maintain the relationship. They believe that by immediately opening their arms and forgiving the betrayal, they are being the bigger person or acting like a saint. But you need to understand that there is a massive difference between genuine grace and self-abandonment. If you forgive a major betrayal without requiring any consequence or change in behavior, you aren't being a saint. You are making yourself a permanent target. By refusing to hold them accountable, you are telling that person that your boundaries are non-existent and that your trust is essentially on sale. You are teaching them that they can hurt you, lie to you, or break their word whenever it benefits them, and that they will never have to face a real price for their actions. Forgiveness is indeed a noble virtue, but when it is used to justify keeping toxic people in your life, it stops being wisdom and starts being self-betrayal. You do not have to become a cold or bitter person, but you absolutely must become a firm one. You have to learn the difference between offering forgiveness as an act of inner peace and offering access to your life as an act of weakness. The level of respect you receive from the world is always a direct reflection of the respect you show yourself. If you allow someone to burn your trust to the ground and then invite them back into your house, you are telling the world that you don't value your own safety. When you finally stop forgiving the unforgivable and start drawing hard, non-negotiable lines, you will notice something incredible happen. People will stop treating your boundaries as suggestions and start treating them as requirements. Walking away from someone who has betrayed you isn't an act of hate. It is an act of extreme self-respect. It is the moment you decide that your peace of mind and your dignity are more important than keeping a person who doesn't respect you. Stop waiting for them to change, and stop expecting them to understand the gravity of what they've done. If they could betray you once, they are capable of doing it again. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do for yourself is to simply pack your things, leave the situation behind, and create the distance necessary to heal. You deserve relationships that build you up, not ones that require you to constantly defend your own worth. At the end of the day, you must understand that the respect others give you is a mirror of the respect you show yourself. If you are constantly compromising your values, ignoring your gut feelings, and accepting behavior that drains your spirit, you are teaching the world that you are a person who can be disregarded. Reclaiming your power isn't about being aggressive or becoming someone you're not. It's about finally realizing that your dignity is non-negotiable. You don't have to be perfect to demand respect, but you do have to be firm. When you stop tolerating the intolerable, you stop being a target and start becoming a person who walks through life with undeniable self-assurance. If you are ready to stop settling and finally start protecting your peace, I want you to make a commitment right now. Take a long, honest look at your inner circle and identify the one person or behavior that has been chipping away at your worth. Stop waiting for them to change or hoping that your patience will eventually be rewarded. It won't be. Instead, set your boundary, hold your line, and if they continue to disrespect you, have the courage to walk away. You have a massive amount of power to change your reality, but it only happens when you decide you've had enough.